Welcome in, everybody. It's the Real Spiel live show, of course, with your host, Roman Kelly, and my co-host, Trevor Kelsey. Trevor, it's been a minute. It's good to be back. Glad to be on the live airways of YouTube and now, of course, Twitch as well. Did a little bit of shimmying and a little bit of editing and a little bit of makeshifting, and I've now added the Twitch stream to this. So if you're coming on to Twitch, or if, I guess, I'm saying this a little bit too quick, one of those things about the live podcasting thing is we kind of jump straight into it, and I probably should allow for the first thing we discuss to not be straight topics of discussion rather than just some casual chatter, because we need to let some people get in here. We need to let some viewers get in here, let some people watch this live and see that we're on the airways and get the notifications if they've got their notifications turned on like they should. But Trevor, before I get into what we're going to discuss and let the people know what's going to be the topic of discussion on the Real Spiel live show today, I want to ask you, how have you been? How are you doing? How are things going? I feel like you should have been in the new podcast room, and you're not. So,
oh no, I'm not.
You've just now earned yourself a new saying. Podcast room coming next week for Trevor.
Yeah, it possibly will be. I got to get a little lazy.
Podcast room coming next week. Good lighting, good audio, good. I almost said paraphernalia. Good memorabilia behind him, and
some memorabilia behind him, but it's not. The lighting is not better. I don't know. I still have no promises how much better lighting will be in this new idea of a setup, but I think it will be better. But then again, what do I know? I am happy to say it's good seeing you. It's been a week.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear we're on Twitch. I like to tell my guidance counselor from Westport Middle School to fuck off. I did make it, apparently.
We're on Twitch.
Yeah.
Well,
he said, I'll never do anything. And I said, oh, yeah? Well, guess what? I will. And look at this. Mr. James, I'm on Twitch, so, you go fuck yourself. I don't even remember his name, and I don't remember. Who remembers a guidance counselor's name anyway, really? I mean, it's what a worthless position. But yeah, it's been good. Been an uneventful week, a slow week. I had my fantasy baseball draft. I watched Dune for the first.
Oh wait, hold on. Okay, yeah. okay. Keep going. We're gonna get into that though. I gotta know. Keep going. Sorry to interrupt. Fantasy. Right. Who's your MVP pick? Who's your first overall pick?
It's a little more complicated than that, but my week in general has been a lot similar to the way the Louisville, California game was. It's been preventive. It's been kind of exciting. It's been eventful, but it's been also boring at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm in it's actually a dynasty league I'm in, so it's a little different.
It's carryover.
We have guys who are. Let's just say this. I've had Vladimir Guerrero since he was 17 years old. And no, I'm not Jeffrey Epstein. I drafted him, and he had him for 3 years on my bench until he made the major leagues. And he's been on my team ever since. So
basically you knew about him before people knew about him.
That I'm a Toronto Blue Jay homer. So I mean that hurt. I've had him for the record, and again, I'm talking fantasy baseball only, FBI. I've had numerous 17 and 18-year-olds, 18 I guess is okay, on my team who have not panned out in the long run. So, but Vlad is the exceptional story of the league. My team is currently in last place for the 8th straight year, I believe, 9th maybe year in a row. And my team is Mitchell Friedman, which is a very if you get that reference, you and me can be friends. If you don't, then we'll just do a podcast together because Roman has no idea what I'm talking about.
I have no idea.
It's a great line from the best sports comedy ever made. No slapstick. No, not Caddyshack. Two greats, though. Major League.
Major League, huh?
Oh, yes. The greatest sports comedy ever made.
I haven't seen it.
It's right above Caddyshack, which is second. And Slapstick, which I had never even watched until thanks to our friend Mike, who got me to watch it, and I enjoyed it immensely. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed watching Dune. Watched Dune finally. Someone convinced me to watch it this week. I've been currently rewatching Daredevil on Disney Plus because I'm 45 and single, and so I watched Dune because someone convinced me to finally watch it. And it was weird because one, it's 2.5 hours. Sadly, even I think would like to have back in my life. But second, like right off the bat, I'm just like, this is Star Wars meets Game of Thrones. And then about an hour into it, nothing happened, except for the Bob Dylan got kidnapped on Tatooine and kept complaining about having the Force, which every teenager who has to be like a powerhouse in the movie has to be a little bitch. John Connor, I don't want to be the savior. Anakin Skywalker, oh, the sand is rough. The only one that was a badass was Luke. Luke was like, fuck this Tatooine island. I'm getting off of it. I'm shooting the Death Star. I'm taking out. You take my hand. I don't care. I'm killing my sister and I'm killing my dad. I mean, he never once bitched, and he had look what happened to him along the way. I digress. So anyway, I start thinking about that. Then I realize this is based off a book. I never saw the original 1984 David Lynch version, but I didn't. And shocking. Sit down. I hope not the most educated literal person. So I realized that this was based off a book, which I knew, but didn't realize how old the book was. Based in the 50s, I think, maybe in the early 60s. So once I realized, I'm like, Star Wars just ripped everything off of this. I mean, Game of Thrones just ripped everything off of this. Personally, I'd rather watch both of those two separately than watch Dune 2, but you learn something new. But Bob Dylan kind of gets on my nerves in that movie.
Why is that? Why does it get on your nerves?
Whiny. They're always whiny. Like, why can't we all be more like Luke? I don't want to be the savior. Oh, I gotta go die with a sword and a girl with blue eyes. She's hot. Get over it. My dad died. I never met mine. Suck it up.
That's how it is. Sometimes.
I don't know.
Any other movies? You normally watch more you've got more movie updates than that. Anything new? I mean, that's newer. What is it? Did you watch the movie in which he's Bob Dylan? I haven't even seen it.
No, still haven't seen it. I watched the Oscars.
Oscars what'd you think?
I haven't seen any of the Oscar movies. I do want to see Anora. I'm still baffled by the fact that it's $6 million is considered an independent film. I had this debate with a friend who did make perfect sense about it, that my mind, I can't get past the fact that independent doesn't matter about the amount of money. But to me, independent sounds like is Clerks and Kevin Smith and doing a film for $30,000, or Richard Linklater doing Slackers before he got big, for 700,000 or something. I think is what it was he did. So that's when I think independent, but it is. I do want to watch it. That's really the only one I really want to watch this year. I mean, I felt like it was a down year. I mean, I really don't want to watch Wicked. I mean, nothing against it. I'm sure it's maybe good for if you enjoy musicals, but that's not my cup of tea. And I have no really desire to watch the Penis musical, with the Perez, and then the other ones. Just I don't know. They don't tickle my fancy. Anora looks at least interesting, so I'll give it a shot, but that's about it. What about you?
Okay.
You seen any of them?
Not in the. I don't think I saw any of them. I haven't seen Wicked.
Yeah, I will watch Dune 2 probably, but I watched Dune 1, so I'm going to watch Dune 2, I guess.
I have to go back and look, but I haven't seen. I'm not a movie watcher, man. I've got to make up for old movies when I'm in a movie mood. So
you don't watch any movies. So what do you watch? Okay.
Really, whatever the girlfriend turns on, I'll watch. I've been watching a lot of shows, a lot more shows lately than movies. Just a lot more shows than movies. And the movies, it's always some random stuff on YouTube, Netflix. I like a lot of the. What do you call it? Like FBI agent goes on a mission to do this kind of movies.
Okay, an action movie. I get that. Okay.
Action with some. I like a good action with good drama, but not predictable. So Netflix has been providing some good versions of that lately. But I just haven't been doing a whole lot of movie watching. I just haven't been. I've been.
Well, Mysterio. Then what was the television show you just recently watched?
I'm in the middle of Breaking Bad right now. Okay. I'm in the middle of. What else am I in the middle of right now? I'm watching some cooking shows right now. I'm in the middle of. I'm in the middle of the. I haven't finished the Netflix documentary of the Olympic basketball.
Obviously, it's riveting that you haven't finished it yet.
I know I haven't because I've seen so many of the viral clips already that I haven't gotten to yet within the documentary, but
What's
it's all good.
What documentary are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
What is it called? Court of Gold?
It's about
The most recent Olympic basketball run for all the teams, and it's got like inside footage of basically all of them, like not just USA. It's like they're showing stuff from multiple teams and stuff, but highlighting different moments and different rounds and things of that nature.
I prefer my documentaries based on events at least 30 years or older. I mean, if it's that recent, I mean, I don't need a documentary. I just watched it. I just followed it on Twitter.
Quick documentary that quick's kind of interesting, but I don't mind it. Well, Trevor, I do want to say we will have a guest in, maybe more than one. But at the moment, we've got one lined up, with potential another one lined up after that, maybe in reoccurring special guest, Rashawn Myers. I don't know if he's going to be potentially joining. He may though. New special guest, young, active, knowledgeable sports fan, and specifically UofL fan. Buddy of mine, Mr. Will Wigington, will be joining us here shortly. I do want to say we are, of course, Trevor, sponsored by, of course, Main Event Sports, our unofficial sponsor. No other sponsors yet, so if you guys want to get locked in with us, please do. Reach out to us. We've got everything. We've got an email account. We've got a Twitch account. We've got a YouTube account. We've got an Instagram account. We've got a TikTok account. We've got everything we need to be a sustaining business if you want to be a part of it. So just let us know. Like, comment, and subscribe down below. Share it to your friends. I haven't had a special guest on the Real Spiel live show outside of Rashawn. And I think that's really been it. Rashawn's been the only special guest, hasn't he?
I don't know. I disagree. My mom says I was special.
You are special. You are very, very special.
Speaking of special, I don't know if you're watching this as I am while we're doing it, but the lady cards.
I did want to touch on that before we got Will in here. The lady cards.
Is that misogynistic of me to say? I don't know, but either way,
lady cards up 55-54 right now. I should have that on, but I don't. Playing Clemson in their ACC network. Give us live updates on that, Trevor. Just in this last 3 minutes here as we're going. It's the live show at night. You get live updates. All right, like that. Jalea Williams with the steal. That's big. Oh, you give the updates. I'm watching the Gamecast. But we're gonna discuss some UofL basketball. 2 games to react to. We're gonna get Will's opinions on them as well. Get Trevor's opinions on just the state of college basketball right now. Auburn has taken a loss. We're gonna discuss just how things are stacking up going into the conference tournaments here, and just Trevor's opinion, maybe a dark horse he's looking out for, a team that he thinks is going under the radar right now. I want to talk under the radar ship right now. In the little bit later on down in the show. Trevor, I'm sorry, I need to ask you if there's obviously, of course, Trevor, if you wanted to bring up any topics into the show as well, we're going to have the Trevor segment here later on after our UofL women's basketball talk and college basketball talk with Will Wigington. Trevor's, of course, we're gonna pick Trevor's brain a little bit, and we have a new segment. We have a new segment on the way, Trevor. I almost forgot. We're gonna need to come up with a name in it. 5 viewers in right now. Appreciate you guys for being in here. We're gonna do a segment where we just look at Kelly Dickey's page, and I maybe try to ask Trevor some trivia questions based on what Kelly Dickey's posted. It's the Roman Kelly Dickey trivia segment, as that's what it is at the moment. But it's not really trivia. It might just be I read something and me and Trevor ooh and ah at it and give a memory if we have one based on a year that goes in with what the statistical thing could be, of course. But Mark, I appreciate you in the chat here, letting the chat ring. If you guys have any questions for us, any comments for us, any stories you want to hear about, Trevor is Mr. Story, so he's got plenty of stories. Okay. I've got a few stories, not a lot of my best stories aren't really. They're not that entertaining, really. I don't have it. I'm a better in-person storyteller. I don't like telling stories to a camera. It makes me feel weird. Because who am I? Who cares about me? But we do care about Trevor Kelsey. So we're gonna pick his brain later on in the show. Trevor, we are gonna get into a little bit of men's basketball. I haven't even looked at what's happened tonight in men's basketball.
Before we get into the men, let's give the women their due. Is again what you mentioned.
You're right.
Louisville playing Clemson and what I think is 1994, but I'm not sure exactly where the arena is. But that's the decade I think they're playing in. The Cards are up 59-57 with just 28 seconds left here. Clemson, I'll be honest. By the way, Zach Randolph side and the court side this game. So if Clemson wants to get out of here alive, they may not want to win this game. They are, I guess, not very good making a Cinderella run, trying to be, I guess, the women's NC State this year, which they do have their own DJ Burns out there, so that would be appropriate, I guess. I haven't, but they have the ball down too, and the women's Nell Carter passes it off to.
Let's get a play-by-play, Trevor. Come on now.
She's got a nice little spin move. She's gonna miss it. One of our girls got the rebound.
They've got a foul, right?
They're gonna foul. And looks like Louisville, as long as they hit the free throws, is gonna advance in the AC Women's Tournament.
Hey, lady cards! Lady cards! That's what we like right there. Clap them in, ladies. Clap them in. Knock these down. Yeah, attacks the basket. Good defense there. Gets a little bit of a half spin, and she can't knock that down. Good rebound. Who's that we get it to? I can't tell who we got it to for the free throws.
I'm not sure. I will be honest with you. I have been lax on following the ladies.
Was it Jada? I don't think it was Jada. I think it might have been Jalea. I don't know. No, I think Jalea got the rebound. I think it was.
Hopefully the Cards will knock down a couple free throws here, and this game will be moot, and we will advance on to play someone else. I believe Duke, if I'm not mistaken, who Louisville did beat at Cameron Indoor. Also, if I'm not mistaken, this year. So, Dookie is the Dukies, despite being the higher seed. I think they're the 4 again. Reiterate for the third time, if I'm not mistaken. And they will play. Cards hopefully get the little 2-game sweep on Duke, which is always nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Men and women will get a little Duke victory on the resume in both the men and women's ACC tournament this year, which would be good to see as well.
That would be good to see.
Knock down these free throws.
Are we sure it's Duke? Yeah, let's knock these free throws down. Are we sure it's Duke?
Pretty sure. Could be wrong, though.
North Carolina gets the win as well tonight over Boston College. Cal beats Virginia. Georgia Tech beats Virginia Tech.
Your things I ponder at night.
Yeah, Duke's waiting for the winner of I can't figure it out.
Oh, you looked that up. Can you reiterate our guest's name? I believe. Did you not say it's Will Wheaton?
Will Wigington.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting Will Wigington in. It's a younger cat. I don't think you would know who he is.
Will Wheaton would have been a very good pull, but that's I was going to be surprised at that. Hey, Stand By Me, top 10 favorite movie of all time. One of those movies that no matter where it is. By the way, they weren't in the bonus apparently.
I just noticed that, but they're still.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where no matter where it is, when I find it on the guide, I'm going to start watching it and just probably continue watching it.
Yeah.
You never seen Stand By Me, I assume, though.
Stand By Me, no. It sounds familiar, but I haven't seen that. No.
It's wrong, but that's also a very good tune as well. Yeah, I mean, did he not foul at all this game or something?
Yeah, they're still not in the bonus. They had another one to give here. This is going to put them on the free throw line. There we go.
That is.
It looks like. Sorry. Oh, that's McKinley Randolph there. It looks like she's the one that's going to the line. Here with Dad. Courtside, McKinley Randolph, Louisville up 59-57.
Oh, yeah, that's Randolph.
59% free throw shooter in the season, but she's 2 for 2 tonight. That's a good sign. So need McKinley to knock down these here, ideally both, but if she can at least knock down one, that
she looks like her dad.
Puts you in a much, much better spot.
What kind of season she had this year?
She's had some good games. I think she's kind of been not the most consistent, typical freshman stuff in the Jeff Walls system there. Takes time to learn. Looks like we've got Will looking like he's going to be ready here to join up in a bit.
And we got at least one free throw out of this.
Yeah. So she hits one. Hits 1 or 2. Clemson's going to go on a call a timeout there. We're going to keep you all updated on the lady cards. Number 6 in the ACC tournament looking to knock off number 14 Clemson in the second round and move on. For sure. But, Trevor, obviously, we are coming off of a game last night in the Center. Louisville Cardinals, the men's team, handles business. Handles business. I don't know if you heard. I had a 10 out of 10 confidence.
I've also heard that you have difficulty understanding like what that means to have confidence. I mean, I have an issue with this because you've been getting shit for it.
I have. I've been getting slandered for it. So what's your opinion on it? Someone asked today, what does Trevor think of the Roman 10 out of 10 confidence? And I know that Trevor doesn't look down upon me for having it, although I haven't questioned how crazy you think it is. But if I can recall, if we go back about a month in which you said in Louisville's last 12 games, you don't feel as if we'll lose any of them, and then we go on to win the next one and then lose to the second game after that statement. But you had 100% confidence in all of Louisville's games going forward, and it looks like we're only going to potentially have one.
Oh, great. Loss. I said it's cute. Hits a 3 to tie.
Oh, my goodness. Clemson ties the game 60-60, 4.3 seconds left. Louisville does have a timeout. Jeff Ross calls it.
Always the cute one that stabs you in the heart.
Looks like the shortest girl on the court just hit a 3. Maybe not the shortest, but just wow. This game, 4.3 seconds with time. It's plenty of time. We did advance the ball, so I don't know where they're going to give it to us to inbound.
That's just horrible rotation.
Yeah, that's not good defense there. Clean look on the catch. So that's just part of it. But Trevor, we're going to welcome in our special guest, first new special guest outside of my Saturday host on the Wake Up 502 show and Rashawn Myers. This is Mr. Will Wigington. Will, how are you,
Thanks
sir?
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Glad to have you on. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Glad that you can get on and join up on such short notice. But
Will, first of all, Will, nice to meet you, Trevor. Will.
You don't know me. I know you very well from the radio.
Well, I apologize in advance already then. And I hope it's not because I owe you money.
No.
But we got to do something with the setup here, buddy. You got the TV behind you. You got to be facing that. Come on.
I know.
This can't be your first rodeo, man.
Hey, it was short notice.
I was supposed to be on my desktop, which would be a whole different setup, but for some reason my face cam wasn't working. So, working with what we got right now.
I know how that feels.
Hey, as long as we can get you on, we're just glad to get you on. We'll make it work next time. I know like my face cam doesn't work when I plug it into my laptop, and it's just kind of a weird situation that sometimes Restream is weird. I apologize for that. Maybe we should be going straight away from YouTube, but then I don't really think we'd have the ability to. Got a Will W in the chat. Got some Will W's in the chat here.
My camera's on the computer. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's all good. Plenty of W's in the chat. Will, though, I want to talk to you. You're an avid Cards fan, both football and basketball, but specifically you've been a diehard Cardinals basketball fan for as long as I've known you. When I met you, when we were, I don't remember how old, I think I was 12 or 13 when I met you, so you had to have been 10 or 11. And you knew everything about the Cardinals at that time. That's one of the first things I remember about you. Any knowledge, any statistical thing that that young can know and remember and take into the conversations with their peers, you were definitely taking into it. You had your I don't remember who it was, but I know you had somebody that we always used to pretend and talk when we were playing basketball about, I feel like I'm trying to play like this guy right now, or I'm going to play like this guy. I feel like you used to say like you were trying to shoot like somebody, but we were all Cards fans to that degree at a young age, and you were one of the first young Cards fans that I knew was like super into it, super diehard at before even that teen age. So, Will, I just want to ask, before we get into some specifics and statistical stuff and X's and O's and opinion stuff and things, obviously, Trevor, if you have any questions for Will, go ahead, just because you're a young cat. Obviously, I should ask you some more. I shouldn't go straight into that. I'm just going to ask you a question about just the season overall. But first, Will, you're a UofL graduate. Talk about it yourself. You do some, what do you do for work? How was your time at UofL? Talk to us. You've been to some games. You've been to a lot of games. We'll get into a little bit of that as well. But yeah, what's up? How was your time as a UofL student? We used to talk about UofL so much. It's just the fact that we've both gotten to be a part of being in the UofL scene so much and being fans and in the realm of just wanting to know whatever we can about U of L athletics. How's it been?
Yeah. It's been great. I'm still in school right now. I actually have season tickets for football and basketball. I have for the past few years with Hunter Reagans, if you remember him. He's actually in the chat right now, I think. But yeah, we've been to pretty much every game, even endured the Kenny Payne years, staying for basically the whole time. It's been rough, but
Trevor, I saw that look.
Yeah, don't ask me why. That's the sign of a true diehard.
But the name Kenny Payne has the same effect on me as an old man that the fire sauce from Taco Bell used to.
They call it KPTSD for a reason, man. It's a real thing.
Louisville. Sorry, fellas. 1 second, Will. I do want to say Louisville Ladybirds do go into overtime here, so a 5-minute overtime segment, 60-60. We'll see what can happen there.
Play they just ran it.
Yeah, that's just not. Sorry, this is part of the listeners. This is part of the live show at night. You know, sometimes there's games on. We got Cardinals playing right now. We've got to be tuned.
I'm sorry. I got to intervene and say, I mean, listen, I'm not going to say anything bad about Wallace. I don't want him to go anywhere, and I will kiss his ass until the day I die, which is about 20 more years anyway. But, I mean, could you not text PK and just got a better play than that? I mean,
be like, can you got a few things you can give us? We like what you do out of timeouts. We'd love to run something.
You know what the 90s also gave us, other than this beautiful court, is movies where people from the stands got to be the coach. I mean, who not forget the classic Eddie? You've not been like Zach Randolph. Hey, come over here, dude. You got something from the Memphis days to call? I mean,
I know you've got something. All right, Will, sorry to interrupt you there. We've got an overtime segment.
Good,
the viewers can see it in the background there. You've got it on. But talk to me. I didn't know for sure. I didn't want to talk out of my neck and say something I didn't know for sure. But you are a season ticket holder for both U of L men's basketball and U of L football as well. So That's been cool. So talk to me about what the Kenny Payne era was like and being there every game and getting to see it just dwindle lower and lower and lower and lower until it seemed like they didn't even want to cut the lights on at the end there anymore. To now, 18,000 season high, 18,500 nearly in our last game, and being a student, and this is what it's been like.
Yeah, so the transformation has been unbelievable, honestly. The best way I could describe last season, or I guess just both years of Kenny Payne, was apathetic. And I think the best example of that last season was when we played Chattanooga at home and we were down by 20 points in the second half at some point. Ended up being a better score than what it was, but you just knew that was, I think, our third game of the season. We were already done by that point. We had only beaten UMBC by 1 point the first game that season. I think it was 91-90, and we had to have that kind of crazy JJ Traynor dunk to take the lead and win that game. And it just, you knew that it was going to fall apart, and we kept having losses to Arkansas State, Lipscomb at home. It was just a disaster, beyond embarrassing. And I'm surprised that people didn't boo as much as they did last season. They came out here and there, but for the most part, it was just silent.
Yeah.
and now
everybody was dead inside.
Yeah. It's like Mike's tweet, whatever, I was already dead inside. It's basically, it was the epitome of that every single night out.
Yeah, for sure.
And now last night's crowd obviously wasn't anything crazy, but it's a Wednesday night, 9:00 game against a pretty trash ACC opponent. So that was understandable, but still a pretty full lower bowl. And the crowd was great. The environment was fun. The stripe out on Saturday was probably the most electric environment since the Michigan game back in Chris Mack's second year when we were number 1 and they were number 4. It was just a fun environment. Obviously not as great of a performance as we would have liked, but we still pulled it out. And hopefully Saturday, I'm expecting an even better crowd. I obviously think it'll be a red out for senior day, but
for sure,
hopefully we can get 20,000+ in the building.
Yeah, I'd love to to break that record for the season again this last Saturday here at 2:00 in the Center. But you're a basketball head. You're a basketball junkie. I want to talk to you first. What was your mindset when you got the notification? Actually, I can't even say that. You obviously probably were in the know, like before a notification would have came on a phone. You knew Pat Kelsey was getting hired before they were sending it out, right? But what'd you feel at the time of that happening, and then what you've gotten to see this season? Were you wrong? Were you right? Have you been completely proven wrong? I mean, I know the out of bounds, the baseline out of bounds, the out of timeout plays, the game planning with the limiting other teams' best scorers to inefficient games. What about the Pat Kelsey system and the basketball you've seen this year being played has impressed you the most and shocked you the most, or maybe proved you wrong the most?
For sure. I remember I was on campus when I got the notification. I think I saw it on Jeff Goodman's Twitter that we had hired Pat Kelsey. And I was really excited just knowing the style of play that we were going to implement. I knew Pat Kelsey's all about offense. I was worried about the defense. I mean, I know it's before the season started, it was talked about ad nauseum that Pat Kelsey was not known for his defense. His defensive style can translate, but the efficiency numbers were not very good coming in. And I've been blown away with that. I remember I made a YouTube video, I think back in September, and I predicted in that we would be a single-digit seed in the tournament. And some of the players I had the right reads on, but I've been mostly wrong. I feel like it. I think I'm not surprised at the result in the position that we're in right now, but the way that we've gotten here. And that's with tough defense, a smaller team, relatively speaking, and we fight like hell on the boards. We're a tough team. And Chucky Hepburn.
I want me to cut off. You said something in my short-term memory. Let me forget it if I don't bring it up real quick.
Say it. Come on, Trev. I didn't mean to leave you out like that, Trev.
No, you're fine. I've been enjoying watching the women's game, which I've got a couple things I'm going to bring up on that here in a second, too.
Yeah. Cards up 65-64 with 1:59 to play.
The concerns with the higher Pat Kelsey, which obviously is going to be some concerns. I mean, it'd be inevitable not to have concerns. So that's what we are as fans, is to question it and be answered, whether it be good or bad. That being said, the defense was an issue for me too as well, and I've been pleasantly obviously surprised by that. But does it worry you too, maybe that let's not get spoiled by that this year? Finding Chucky Hepburn is not going to happen every year. I mean, at least especially the way he plays.
Lightning in a bottle.
Terrence Edwards I don't expect to be this good a defensive player, and while he's had laps, has still been solid overall this year. And same with Hadley, and I mean, you probably knew it was Scott, but you get what you get with him still. But I mean, Hepburn being the key, obviously. I mean, no one not only plays as good on ball, but knows just when to and not to help, and the proper times to help and to disrupt things when he does do it. I worry that next year, I mean, I think the offense will be there still because that's the system. But does it worry you? Maybe it worries me a little bit. Maybe I don't want to think about it, but that's why I'm trying to enjoy this year so much as I am, because I feel like this is going to be in future Pat Kelsey teams. We're going to look back and go how spoiled we were, how good this one is, both offensively and defensively.
It's kind of I go back and forth with it a little bit because Chucky Hepburn, I even said in that video I referenced, he was the best defensive guard in the country, and he's lived up to the hype. He's been an even better offensive player than I expected. At the point of attack, he just dominates an opposing offense and takes them out of what they want to run. Yeah. It hasn't been as great lately. He's been getting blown by a little bit, but last night he shaped up.
He was hurt. He was hurt. Hey, Will, he was hurt a little bit.
I would say
but yeah, he's been hurt. You're right. I don't mean to interrupt there, but yeah.
No, you're good. But we're gonna have some progression. James Scott is a good shot blocker, but he's going to improve, and then we're going to have depth continuing to come in. So a guy like Sanandu Fru, for example, he's a 21-year-old freshman. Who knows how long he'll actually stay in the program, but he's a 6'9" big man that can guard, and he can play on the perimeter. James Scott, I love how he hedges, but sometimes we do have trouble getting back to his man from the hedge, which leads to bad rotational defense. Which
he hedges a little too long and a little too hard sometimes.
Exactly. That's the aspect of pack line defenses that I don't like. And I appreciate our pack line principles in terms of hedging, but like you just mentioned, sometimes we do over hedge a little bit. But I think that Chucky, he makes up for a lot of mistakes that the rest of our team would have defensively. But the problem, or the thing is, though, is like you mentioned, Terrence Edwards is a really good on-ball defender. Sometimes he even takes the best opposing player. Javon Hadley's great in the paint, but coming into these next years, we're going to likely have more size and more depth, so we can play the aggressive defense that we want to, because Pat Kelsey, while he may not be known for pressing, is known for very aggressive point of attack defense, where it's ball pressure. And
if you can at least get the guards to have a tough night, you can usually rough up an offense a little bit for sure. You're completely right.
Injuries. Go ahead.
No, Will, I think you made a great point there because I'm more terrified than Trevor is. I think Trevor kind of he didn't sugarcoat it, but just how good we are defensively and the reasons we had the fears, those fears came from how we wanted to play, how Pat Kelsey wants to play. That comes from the depth, which we need. He wants to play a lot of guys. He wants to have, the 6th, 7th, 8th guy on the bench being 20-plus minute, 20-plus minute a guy kind of not. 20-plus minute a night kind of guy. Sorry, geez. And
he wants to play like a pseudo platoon system
because he wants to play fast. He wants to play much, much faster. And I made a point on this about the radio a few weeks ago that I think this season is going to be such a important learning season for him, and just understanding what it takes to get players to defend, because he had to. He lost 2 players. He lost an aspect of his play style. So I think you're totally right, but it's a double-edged sword because he's going to have to. Granted, continuity is going to be important, and I think he's going to have it this next year and over a couple years to come because the culture is that strong. We're the number 14, 13 team in the nation. 14 team in the nation. So
I'm not saying that Louisville's going to take some huge step back. I'm just saying
he's going to have guys who have to learn it, though. He's going to have the guys who come in and have to learn how to defend. And the way he was
freshmen like Michael Brown, or maybe even Nate Mint too. It's it's going to take time for them not only to learn the system in general, but where to be on both offense and defense, where to help, where to position yourself, how to communicate with your teammates. And now that we have this senior laden team, I think we're in the top 20 in the country in terms of roster age. We have guys that have been there, done that. Maybe haven't had deep runs in March, but they have played in March and won games.
Yeah.
And they have that medal to where it's like, hey, like they always talk about, it's winning time right now. Let's go get this victory. And they do. But with a different team, my worry is I just don't want it to be where we have false expectations necessarily, to where, we're probably going to have 25 plus wins this season. And now we're going to expect to be top 5 in the country next year, probably. It was just with our fan base. I'm not saying I have those expectations, but just
you're completely right. It's not like I don't expect us to regress, but at the same time,
don't apologize, Will, for having expectations of being a top 25 team going into next year, regardless of how much.
I'm saying that.
Don't apologize at all. That should be expected to be a top 25 team now.
And that's what I was about to say to Phil in the comments.
Nothing.
Phil says, "Stop worrying, Trevor." Phil says, "Stop worrying, Trevor. Take a chill pill, especially after everything we went through. This is extra icing, brother. Louisville fans are spoiled. We should be celebrating. We've had bad years we've been bad for years now, and we're cooking dudes now." And you're right, Phil. We are. Yes, we should live in the moment. Yes, we should celebrate right now, no matter what. But at the same time, there's always going to be that expectation. And now you've also done it. We know Pat was the right guy for the job. So going into next year, the recruiting is going to be better. The more players in the transfer portal are going to take you seriously. More high school recruits are going to take you seriously, and the guys who you've got are going to probably want to stick around. So those are all great signs. Those are the reasons that I have no. What are we right now? What are we in the coaches poll right now? 13th in the coaches poll, 14th in the nation.
24th in Ken Palm. I think we're 25th in the net.
I definitely expect us to be a top 25 team next year when
100%.
Pat Kelsey is getting to work with a fully healthy roster. God forbid.
Exactly.
Phil, sorry about the women's score. Cardinals up 68-67. I've looked away here. I don't see who has possession. Clemson has the possession arrow.
The free throw line up 1 with 4.7 seconds left. Clemson's
there it is. Yeah.
Clemson, their DJ Burns girl missed a 3 and airballed it actually, and then a little.
So that's.
By the way, okay, I got
Tajiana Roberts hits the free throw to go up to 69-67. Hits the second one to go up 70-67. So Clemson with the ball, timeout, down 3.
I want to bring something up. I love this. Clemson's best, I guess, it's their lead guard. She's the one with the Chucky Hepburn lack of the blonde streak hair. Her name is Loyalty. Like, there's got to be an inside joke between the parents on that one, right? Like there's no way. I mean, was the dad married or something? I mean, there's got to be.
No, that's kind of a common thing. That's kind of a common thing.
Loyalty.
You'd be surprised how many girls out there that are named Loyalty and Royalty.
I mean, okay, there's got to be an inside.
I feel like I know someone named like a direct name like that, word type of name like that. But probably a little bit more common than we would think. But
like you can't tell me there's not a story.
Will, Trevor, I want to get both of y'all's opinion. Obviously, we've seen Kelly Dickey post it. We've seen all the radio guys post it. All the Louisville media guys are posting it. We know what happens if Louisville, if the Ken Palm favorite in the rest of the ACC games going forward wins. Louisville will be the 2 seed. Duke will be the 1 seed. Clemson will be the 3 seed. We've also heard Duke has never been the number 1 team in the ACC on an odd year number. So, I mean, are we gonna? Does that matter right now?
I think it matters for us because they're gonna stay on the opposite side of the bracket till the title game.
Well, that's what's most important for sure. That's what's most important for sure. But I don't see them letting up to UNC. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a close game all the way throughout, just because the basketball guys are interested in making so. But at the same time, I just don't see them letting up to this UNC team.
So Roma, you have a degree. Will, you are currently in school, and I am currently in my still with the process of my 3rd semester at Western Kentucky from 2002 in work in progress.
Yeah.
So if we're getting straight, if North Carolina beats Duke, and then we all have 2 losses, and of course we lost Duke. Clemson beat Duke. We beat Clemson. Yada yada yada. And I believe Wes Durham said during the broadcast, which is amazing, something educational came out of the broadcast, it was going to be him, is that he goes to the 4th team, I guess. I mean, there was at one point in the game where the kid from Clemson had been in there for like 12 minutes, and Courtney Alexander goes, "Hey, look, coach, your former guy just checked in." It's like, you've been in the fucking game for 10 years. You've been.
I hate Courtney Alexander. I think the entire
boring.
fan base hates Courtney Alexander.
I digress.
I saw something the other day.
Cards win. No foul?
No foul.
No foul?
No.
No
We
foul?
always make it interesting.
She was not very loyal.
Cards win 70-67. That's what I like to see right there. I don't think there was a foul, right?
I don't know.
I'll do the 32-second replay. Will, give me the math on this.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, or I don't know if I am wrong on this, but I feel like I saw something the other day that if Duke loses to North Carolina and Louisville and Clemson both finish 18-2, so all 3 finish 18-2 in conference,
yes,
that we would actually be the 1 seed.
Yes.
Because
based on the 4th seed, right, or something.
What'd you say? It cut out.
Louisville will get the 1 seed in the ACC tournament if it wins both its remaining games, while Duke loses either of its final 2. Otherwise, Cards will get the 2 seed if they match Clemson over the next 2 games, or the 3 seed if they fall behind Clemson. So,
at worst,
as long as we don't lose our next game,
there's a shot we get a 1.
Yeah, if Duke loses, and we win, we get the 1st seed because we beat Clemson. So,
well, then let me ask you.
Duke to lose,
I'm sorry. Go on.
Go ahead.
No, I was
just gonna say for Duke to lose, R.J. Davis and Ian Jackson both got it combined for 50. I know Jalen Withers, our old buddy, he's been playing pretty well, and he's gonna have to remain on that heater and guard Cooper Flagg. But I just don't think they had the size to compete with Duke on the backboard. I mean, Jalen Withers, I think they have another big man, but he doesn't really play that much. But I'm pretty sure Jalen Withers is their tallest guy that plays the most, and he's only 6'7", 6'8". So that's as tall as Cooper Flagg.
No, I understand. No, I listen. I get there's no business being Duke. But crazier things have happened. If we all went by common sense, I'd still be a virgin. But thankfully, I'm not. Without paying for it. But the thing is, it's North Carolina Duke. I mean, shit happens. So there's at least have reason to have hope alive for it. And that being said, if I do have hope alive, regardless of whether Louisville has this chance, I move over to, without going into the Cal game already, let's skip a little bit ahead, no offense, to Stanford. With what we know ahead with more. We know there's more glory ahead than what we have against Stanford, and maybe even dropping to a 3 seed tournament. Regardless of what we don't or don't know, do you play Rain Smith on Saturday? Will?
No. Nope. Because you're going to get – no.
His whole family's in town, though.
I mean, if he
yeah.
Here's how it's going to work.
The whole family's in town.
No. They said they're going to be in Charlotte, too, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So they'll be able
because of that right there, just because the family's also going to be in Charlotte. But here's the thing. I wanted them to hear that crowd pop on a Rain 3.
I know. But the thing is, that's 5 extra days of rest if he doesn't play.
Listen, I agree. Listen, he's been playing college basketball for 9 years. They've seen him play. I understand it's a long trip.
They've never seen him play in the Yum Center. They've only gotten to hear it on TV.
I've got to throw this out there, by the way. I understand that the water rotates differently, the opposite way in Australia. But I saw the picture of the family. Apparently, the L is opposite as well. Because every one of them holds the L the wrong way. I don't know what crocodile do.
I saw that.
But, I mean, I just assumed this was it was a hemisphere thing. That's the only thing I can assume, all right? Is that what it is?
I don't know. It is. I saw that on Twitter earlier, and I thought the same thing. I was like, every single one of them has the L going the wrong way.
I agree with Will.
I don't know.
I agree with Will 100% on this. Because, I don't know if he's watched these or not. I doubt it. I don't blame him. But I know Roman has heard me rant about it. I've worried over the last probably week and a half of the minutes played. Louisville is the only team that's still in the top 25 where your top 4 players are averaging over 30 minutes a game. And with Hepburn, I'm really not concerned about it. And listen, your star players need to be playing 30 minutes a game, even if you're doing platoon rotations. Yeah. I don't want, if you're a backup for a reason. If you should be playing more minutes, then you would be the fucking starter. Otherwise, you're the backup, and I don't want my backup playing more than 12 or 13 minutes unless it's, a really deep 6-man rotation team that you have. And that is what that is. But Louisville's still getting a lot of minutes. And while guys like Hepburn and Hadley are used to it, and they're still young, even with the 9-year college basketball joke I make, they're still in their early 20s. I remember that a little bit back then. But Rain Smith has never played more than 30 minutes a game in his 4 full seasons going into this year, 3, whatever it was. I mean, it's by far the most. And I fear that you've seen that a little bit in the jump shot over the last few games. I think you've seen it a little bit with the laziness just overall with this team and the turnovers we've had. We had 17 against NC State. We beat them by 40. Everybody chucked it up and laughed. But since then, we've had double-digit turnovers in every game. And if you look at the Cal game, particularly just more recently, because I remember that because of the short-term memory effects, I mean, this was a sloppy game. Cal shot 29%. We shot over 50%. And not to sound like an asshole, we only won by 17.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's because they killed us in the backboards. They took 71 shots.
I understand. And at a point where I haven't seen Pat Kelsey do this very much. He did it more in this game. And with Rain Smith's injury, he forced his hand a little bit, but he did it in FSU mostly, where he went with the closest thing we would have to Houston Rockets, Twin Towers of the 80s, where he went with Waterman, Roos, and Scott all in the same lineup. I mean, that's like us, running Sampson and
it's no Ralph Sampson.
But that's the closest. It's the small lineups we use. That's like us doing that, and you saw him have to do that again in this game. It didn't really matter because Dort was using that butt and getting everybody out of there. But still, the fact that you only won it just feels like the game Louisville should have won by 30. It felt like they were going with the motions. I feel like I've used that phrase way too many times in the last week and a half. And maybe it's not a bad thing that they're doing that and still getting these victories. And maybe it's a good thing we are maybe taking a little bit off the brakes and saving it for – because you know what? This isn't – I'm at the point now – but I look at this team and how good this team can be in a tournament setting, and that's short – one day, next day, take time out, yada, yada. I have no doubt this team cannot make a deep tournament run. I mean, they check every box. I mean, I would say they could lose in the first round as easy as they could go to the Elite Eight. But I have that confidence right now in this team. So for them to be, taking a step back and kind of going through the motions with Cal and Stanford, I have no problem with that. And maybe do it a little bit in the ACC tournament because a win's a win. And Roman asked me this before he joined us, and I didn't get a chance to answer it. He asked me my issue with him and on the Rutherford show about his confidence level. My issue is not with his confidence level. My issue with him not not manning up and being a little pussy and not backing up that confidence level. Because yes, they weren't pretty. They weren't
that has
looking
been a
wins. But you know what? 100% confidence says.
Yeah.
100% confidence says 100% of victory. And with the exception of Georgia Tech, I don't know. I know I took 3 years to pass pre-algebra, so maybe I'm the wrong one to ask this question to. But the math tells me that 100% means a victory, and a victory is a victory. When you look back at it, it doesn't matter how sloppy it was. In 3 years, 2 years, in 6 months, we're not even going to remember how sloppy it was. We're going to remember the victory. We remember telling our friends we got laid. We don't have to mention she weighed 300 pounds and looked like me, but we got laid. And that's 100% confidence.
One loss in 2025, fellas. One loss in 2025.
Think about it. Back it up, man. Say, listen, yes, it wasn't pretty. Who gives a bleep? You got to say bleep on the radio. But say, who gives a fuck? It wasn't pretty, Mike. But you know what? I told you 100% confident we're going to win. And guess what? Let me check. Let me look at my phone. We won. I was right. Suck it.
You're right. You're right. I need to stand on it more after. But when I know we're better than these teams, I'm not going to let anything that they're good at that could challenge us be a reason. I'm not confident we're gonna win the game. So obviously, if it's Clemson, if it's Duke, it's a little different. It's a little bit different.
Yeah,
a little bit different for Clemson.
Listen, I'm not saying that we should beat Duke, but I'm not scared of Duke. No.
Exactly.
I'm not scared of Duke.
I want another shot at him.
I'd love another shot. I'd love another shot at him. I really, really would love another shot at him.
I know we can lose
because I think
but I'm not scared of him
at all. That game too, I think it's a perfect example of how far we've come, because that was right after we had lost Kaysen, we had lost Corin, we still didn't have Kadir back, and even too, Terrence Edwards was still trying to find his spot in the system. He was playing so uncomfortably and timid, I guess is the best way to put it, early in the season. And the Duke game is when he finally broke out. And that first half we played really well, but it was just unsustainable because kind of how you mentioned, we have such a small depth chart right now that we don't have the legs. But I think since then that your worries aren't really one to me. I think it shows Pat Kelsey's ability.
He's a game planner.
Yeah, he can change on the fly.
He's a game planner. He knows what he's seeing in live time. Like you just said, in live time, he knows what he's seeing. He's got some other high basketball IQs also seeing the same shit at all times. And that right there gives me like the utmost confidence in the games where we might not have that edge. We might not have that advantage. We're not the most athletic team. We're not the biggest team, like you said, Will. We're not the best defensive team at times, like you've stated, Trevor. We're sloppy at times, like you've stated, Trevor.
No,
Pat Kelsey has figured out how to get through any issues we've had.
I think some of it's
just
not as much sloppy as it's some of it's we've been caught over, especially last week, playing in segments more than entire games, but playing down a little bit to the competition is
with a 15-point lead.
And that's not a good thing, but you know what? Again, like I said, I know that we can do to these teams, and I think they know we can do to them. Unfortunately, I just had Syracuse and NC State and a few others that we haven't pulled the brakes off of, despite what John Rothstein might think. I
got a bone to pick with John Rothstein. I don't like John Rothstein. He was talking that shit at the beginning of the year, was he not?
Hey, he thinks he knows.
This might be a tournament team. This might be a tournament team, dude.
Wait.
Thing is,
Pat Kelsey, no breaks. Pat Kelsey, no breaks. Pat Kelsey, no breaks. No one asked.
At all.
Apparently, you follow
it. We might be a tournament team. Fuck out of here. That shit's stupid. Sorry to cuss, but
no, you're good.
Yeah, I don't like.
I just
if you ask him what team won the championship in whatever year, he'll tell you. But when it comes to actually prognosticating teams within the current season and like where they'll end up, or even the NCAA tournament results, he doesn't have a very good track record. He's kind of like that quirky guy that everybody just keeps around. You know what I mean?
I've never wanted to pull myself, so I can kind of relate. But what we're saying with the with Duke and the timing thing, I mean, it's almost can be cliche to a Cardinal fan to say this, but it is true. I mean, if anybody knows about bad timing in situations, trust me, I know. Is when that whole situation coming off the Bahamas and the injury, and then you had Ole Miss, which was like the worst team in that situation, And then and then I know there was a week between that Duke game and the Kentucky game, but it's still, this team wasn't finding itself. I mean, they were still trying. I mean, they were dealing with the injuries. You had Troy back yet. I mean, obviously, we're still kind of getting over with what Pryor had left off with his injury. I think Waterman still was having that thumb issue that we just didn't know about for the most part. And
that's been since I mean, 100%.
I mean, maybe he won't use it as an excuse, but I'll let him do it. I mean, he can Tiny Tim it with his crutch all he wants, because I mean,
New York Noah's back, baby. New York Noah back, baby.
But anyway,
what you heard?
I agree. Now, it can be an excuse, but I think also, and if you want to play devil's advocate to that, you could say, well, maybe it was bad timing that they played all their good teams then, and they have looked like shit against. They haven't had a chance to beat anybody good short of Clemson, maybe, if you call them that since then. And that's a fine argument. But listen, also just watch basketball. Just watch the game being played. And I understand. I'm not saying Louisville has one-on-one talent level at Duke's level, but as a team, Louisville is a good basketball team and a good college basketball team at that. They have, again, to steal a cliche, I've used it twice now. They hit all the check marks of what you get when you have a Cinderella run. And what Louisville's probably going to be seated is going to be a Cinderella run. And I love this year's tournament. I mean, this year has a feel like the Napier tournament year when UConn won it, where you have
2014, yeah.
I mean, it was you just upsets.
They were ass,
and that was a 7 seed, and they beat a.
We clapped them every
game.
They
were ass.
I went to the senior day game against them.
I can't believe they were ass. So was that UK team, James Young, weak ass James Young.
I mean, but it's like James Young. UConn that year at home on senior day, 81-48. And then
stupid-ass James Young.
They go to overtime in the first round against St. Joseph's, and they win the national championship. It's just it's basketball in a nutshell. But
and you know what? You look at that team, and obviously when you talk about the last 25 years, they are near the bottom of anyone's list in terms of the most talented, and they're rightfully so. It was a wonky year. I'm old enough to use that term. So, and that's what that
team was ass. Marcus Lee, James Young, Aaron Harrison, ass team.
Ass.
Willie Cauley-Stein, weak ass team. Alex Poitras. I hated Alex Poitras. Oh my God, I hated Alex Poitras.
Now you just got the song "Ass and Titty" stuck in my head. Now I hope you're happy.
But going back to the Duke game, the thing that I think is most important is that everybody's role on the team since then, outside of Chucky, is completely different. If you got to think about it, because now I don't think Rain at the time was starting. Now, like you said, Trevor, he's getting 30-plus minutes a game. When he's on, we're blowing teams out. That's when we're blowing teams out.
No, I agree. And you've seen, I think maybe the minutes have hopefully, unfortunately, I think have worn down in the last couple of games in the shooting percentage. And that's why with this, whether how bad it is or not, whether he can play, I know he's a trooper. You know, he's killing. He's a soldier, but like he did with the Miami game, Chucky probably could have played.
But you don't want to risk it. And now Terrence has become our best scorer. We didn't even really know that Javon Hadley had a post game like he does now. Like he did a little bit early in the season, but we weren't actually running sets for him to get a one-on-one matchup in the post and matchup hunt. James Scott was not a lob threat early in the season. Now he's become a team or a player that teams identify on every single pick and roll. You cannot let him get behind the helper on the pick and roll. And if he does, Chucky's going to throw the lob. If not, he's going to go to the rim or kick it to another shooter. It's just our offense. It doesn't seem like it, but we have so many different ways to attack you. And I think the perfect stat is what's been
Pat
talked
Kelsey
about.
was saying last night.
Yeah, with 4 players having 30 more points first time in our history, but you wouldn't think it because Chucky and Terrence are shot makers and shot creators, but they're not elite level shot creators. And there isn't anybody else on the team that if you hand them the ball with 5 seconds on the shot clock, they're going to get a bucket on anybody on the court.
Yeah,
that's just not how it is. But that shows Pat Kelsey's ability to not only know his personnel, but to scheme his guys into positions where they have an advantage over anybody on the court.
At all times, in every scenario. I think that's key.
He can run an out-of-bounds play for anybody. And with Rain out last night, that was shown with Terrence Edwards. I mean, it's not like he had a ton of sets ran for him, but the top of the key.
They knew how to feed the hot hand. They knew how to get him open.
And Chucky recognized that.
I agree. And even one of the ones that backfired which was on that moving screen. Chucky hit the 3, which was coming out of a timeout.
Oh, that pissed me off so much.
I know. Well, it's kind of a borderline call. He jumped a little bit.
I have a perfect angle of that because our seats are on the band. It was not really. Maybe a slight hip check. That was about it.
as someone who made their career in setting picks in Little League basketball, 2-time All-Star, I am on Waterman's side in this case. I agree. But there's nothing wrong with a little hip bump. I never heard anybody give a little
Never a little hip bump, little soft hip, little.
That game was too physical to call that. I mean, we were battling on the backboards.
Bump and grind, I believe R. Kelly called it.
Feel me?
But anyway, hit the 3 out of it. I think one of the bigger issues to me, and you mentioned this, Terrence Edwards, is his progression, because that was a concern I had earlier in the season, was that he was having trouble developing, I think, playing the talent level on a day-to-day basis. And this is no disrespect to the Sun Belt. I'm not trying to be mean, but he was able to get in the lane and get fouled a lot more in that level of conference play on a day-to-day basis, where, especially early in the season with the schedule we played, that is a little bit more to do with it as the competition has declined, is that he's been able to get more in the lane, and he's not getting the fouls that he used to. His free throw shooting is way down in terms of percentage, or not percentage, but attempts per game from the James Madison days, and that's understandable. But he's being less indecisive when he has gotten in the lane. And
he's great at that.
Gotta be, I complained early on in the show that the pump fakes are too many, and I don't mind the 1 or 2, but you just make up your mind and get out there and do it. And the less threes is a good thing, because let's be honest. I mean, he
went 7 for 11 though.
He was great. He's not that guy usually.
I get up out of bed faster when he releases that shot.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! It's so slow.
And on top of that, Trevor, when I was doing some research on Terrence Edwards and I made that video, I was saying my worry for him about integrating himself in this roster and being one of the guys was him having to mold his game almost, because at James Madison's career, he was great in mid-range and creating.
Oh, he didn't shoot 3. I think he's taking more 3s this year than his junior and senior games.
His whole career, it seems like.
Yeah, he could shoot 3s, but the problem is early in the season when he was taking what felt like 5 damn step-back 3s a game, it was because it's been ingrained in his mind the past 6 months. I can't pull up from mid right here. I got to step back and take a contested jumper. It's either go take a step back 3 or
that's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah, he was so.
He was a 3-level scorer last year within the green light to take anything he wanted.
And now he had to become a 2-level scorer because that's the offense. And it was like his new teachings from Pat were in the back of his mind in every game until he finally realized and just had a light bulb moment where it's like, okay, I got to pick my spots from 3, but every time I get the ball and I run a pick and roll with Terrence or with James Scott, it has to be with the goal of getting to the rim or finding somebody open, because now it feels like he lives in the paint and by beating his man off the dribble and creating for himself or for others, when early in the season,
when he's having to create for himself, right? Worry if you're a little fan though, because when he's playing, he's getting his shot in the system and getting in penetration, but when he's having to go one-on-one too much, that's when Louisville does have its offensive issues when they're not moving the ball. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you probably don't already know, and anybody who hasn't watched this hasn't seen. But I was impressed. One thing with the maturity yesterday, because you saw in the first half the officiating was, I thought, and I normally don't complain about officiating. I try not to. I am usually the one playing the devil's advocate when it comes to people, who whine and bitch about officiating, but do it blindly just because Jay Billis told them to. But it was somewhat atrocious in the first half of that game. They weren't letting us get away with early in the game. You saw Chucky was kind of frustrated with it a little bit. You got flashbacks to the Vatek game where he was kind of frustrated with that game where they were letting them play. At least that was them play throughout the game. This one, they did it a little bit early. And I want to go to the Terrence Edwards, and I want to call it Corey Alexander again for his stupidity, which is mean to me, but I was a fan of him as a player, so it's all karma evened out. And that is when he wanted to pump his chest on the Terrence Edwards leg kick, which they didn't call. Which he's right, it was an offensive foul. If they'd called it, it would have been on Edwards. But let's not forget, you want to brag about how he avoided his third. He had his second because the guy did the same fucking thing to him 2 plays later on a leg kick, and you could tell Terrence was pissed off about it. And I think that's why he did the leg kick on purpose, which 2 plays later led to him doing.
You're calling it on purpose?
Yeah, and 2 plays.
I am too, man. And I didn't want to say that. I don't like saying that.
2 plays later, he did the bump butt, which was very inconvenient and in his way. That was clearly that was when it boiled over. I'm glad it stopped there. And maybe it's the kid. Maybe it's having a kid and being a father now. But I love how that's something you don't see you see it in young players. But that was where you saw him go, listen, you Pat Kelsey talking to him, you got the flagrant one, that's your third. Don't play the fucking game. Let the rest do it. And the rest ended up evening it out a little bit, and it was fine the rest of the way after that. That first 10, 12-minute stretch, it just, I don't know. And Louisville couldn't pull away at that point because it just felt like the officiating was really one-sided. I don't mean to sound like a homer on it, but it just felt that way. They were kind of getting away with some stuff that we weren't. And when they finally evened it out, I felt like that scene in the Longest Yard remake where Adam Sandler had to hit the ref in the nuts with the football and give him a wet willy before I feel like that,
or they finally call it
to the guy he has to put in every one of his movies contractually. But he was awesome in Grandma's Boy. I'll give him that. But I think that's what the Edwards play was that got the flagrant. That was him going up to the ref, finally go up to Teddy Valentine, probably in front of a camera because Teddy's involved. And he's saying, "Hey, listen, it was on purpose, but you gotta listen. They're over here just butt humping us, and you're not letting us get away with shit. Let's even it out a little bit, okay? Let's a little bit Willie, okay? Let's do it.
Come on now,
Roman. Were you at the game last night?
I was. I made it in.
Was that not one of the loudest refs you suck chants you've ever heard in your life?
And with only 14,000 people in there. It was loud. It was really loud. I was super surprised. It made me smile for sure. I couldn't. I didn't think it.
By the way, I want to say props. I've been giving Courtney Alexander a lot of shit and well deserved because he's annoying. But West Durham, I love, and I don't care. Maybe it's an old man. I like Jim Boeheim calling games. He's got kind of.
He just doesn't.
Yeah, he's got kind of this Hubie Brown, Bobby.
It's not good though.
I mean.
It's funny.
I think in a low level.
It's funny, but it's not good. When we're up 20, I like it. When the game's intense, exactly. I don't want to hear the bullshit. You know what I mean?
I don't want to listen to the anyway. It's an intense game.
If it's a heat of the battle game,
you're right.
I don't know. I agree with Roman. If it's like a heat of the battle, nip and tuck game, I don't want to hear him just talking shit on the mic. Like I want to hear just like, hey, here's what's going on.
Him like slapping up a cough drop like it's like he's doing something under the table or something. Jeez.
He was part of the California game was in his wheelhouse. That game was not close. It was sloppy, boring, and it needed some stories told. A little Harry Carey about a kid. That's a kid.
All right, Will. I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been great. You are definitely a sports talker for sure. Definitely cards. You know your Cardinals content. So definitely would love to have you on again.
Well, anytime we're going live. I got to ask Will two things. One, have you watched any Oscar movies?
No, I don't have time for all that right now. Honestly, I got a full-time job and I'm
He's a grinder.
So it's
grad school. I didn't finish the school I was supposed to. Let alone what shit that they didn't do extra. Yeah. Okay.
I have seen a couple clips though. Like was it Macaulay Culkin's brother won an Oscar? Was that?
Yeah. I can't look at that movie. All I watched that. I try to watch that, and every time he said it, all I heard was "lay off the Pepsi, Fuller."
I heard that movie sucked, and he didn't deserve that. But I haven't really watched.
Couldn't really watch it myself. That's okay. Well, then, and a more serious question before we let you go and get out of here, because you are a busy man. You've got shit to invent in college. What are your thoughts on the Stanford game then?
You got to watch out for Maxime Reynaud. He's a dog. 6'10" big man that can give it to you. Pause however he wants to give it to you. So. I think you got to put Javon on him. Oh, I said pause, yeah. Or I should have prefaced no homo. But Javon is probably going to need to guard him. But he's a mismatch freak because he can score wherever. And
I love a mismatch freak.
He's in a very – yeah. That's kind of what Javon is right now, honestly. But it's Stanford's not a very talented team, but he's by far their best player. And if you don't rein him in – it's going to be. I
think the second best front court player we'll see all season long. That we will have seen all season. So
I've gone to the games this year 100%. Worried about how size can affect Louisville in each one. Louisville has Goliath, the David the Goliath in scenario. Yeah. In this one, what worry? I won't go too in depth. But Stanford is a weird team. I end up watching them play a little bit of this Notre Dame game. When Stanford is good, they can be good. They can score some points. There's a reason why they're averaging over 70 points a game, which is a decent average in most parts. But when they're bad, they are bad offensively. I mean, they have, I want to say, shot less than 40% like 4 times in the last like 7 games. And that's not.
Yeah.
And Louisville does a good job of keeping percentage. Now, like you said, the size can be an issue. Hopefully, he lacks the lateral speed. He does lack a little of the lateral speed that Scott does bring more to the center position. But, yeah, Louisville's got to keep him off the ball. I mean, yeah, I agree. I'm not worried about it. I agree with it's worth sitting Rain Smith regardless. And my confidence level, I will say, is at a 9. Will, what would your confidence level be? And be confident and be in your confidence level.
I'm actually going to say a 9.5. And the only reason is because Reno isn't really – he's not a guy that's going to kill you in the paint. It's just he can score wherever on the court. So if you don't have a guy like a Javon Hadley, for example, who can keep up with him and guard him at all 3 of those levels, then that's where you're going to have trouble. He's not a kind of player where he's going to post up on the block every possession, you're going to feed him, and he's just going to go to work. That's not necessarily the player that he is. He's going to try to face up, for example, or score in the mid-range. He's going to do whatever he can to get a bucket and use his size to his advantage. I don't think we're going to let that happen. And we're probably last night, for example, we doubled the posts pretty frequently, and we haven't really done that too much this season. I imagine.
Great point. We haven't done that hardly at all this season.
Yeah, I was surprised because Sissoko last night, he's not even really that kind of guy, but since he is 6'11" and so burly that he could have backed down James if he wanted to, maybe we blitz kind of how Virginia does whenever a team gets the ball in the paint. They blitz the – were you about to say something?
No, I was going to say, you mentioned the double. It reminded me of something I noticed the last game, maybe the last couple of games. Maybe it's just the purple punch that I was having during the game, but it does feel like Louisville is running more of a matchup zone on the weak side and switching man to man when the ball rotates towards the bench side. Am I saying that correctly?
That is 100% what's happening when Rain's off the floor. It was happening all night, so it happened all night last night.
Yeah, and it depends too because Pitt, I felt like that type of team, if we play a team with that makeup in the tournament, we're going to lose just because they're the worst matchup possible for us. They had us on a string the entire game. If they could have made a damn 3.
If they could have hit a jumper, it would have been scary, yeah.
Well, because if you have a team with 5 shooters on the court, that just kind of takes us out of our flow on defense. But Stanford's not that kind of team.
We need to give him like CPR or something over here.
I don't know.
A heart attack? I mean, who had a bingo card of the 3 of us having a heart attack on live on a show? Had not been me. I mean, by the way, I love you. By the way, I don't. I'll probably get canceled for saying this, but I don't care because I'm old. You don't have to say no homo anymore. It's actually more acceptable to smoke cock than to smoke cigarettes. So I'm actually the worst one here in this situation because I've had like 5.
You say no Diddy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You all right there?
No Diddy.
He's dying.
All the bands he didn't produce, I'm surprised he didn't have Boyz II Men.
Yeah, he's they're gonna lock him up and melt the key.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game on
You're
Saturday.
at 9.5, Will. Trevor, you're at a 9. Fellas, I'm afraid I'm not going to give my exact number. I will let you know it is higher than both of you. I'm going to have to save that for tomorrow, unfortunately. But we've let this show extend way, way, way longer than I intended to. We didn't plan these segments out long.
You're welcome, ladies.
I can't upload anything too much longer than this or no one is going to watch it. And Will, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the confidence level. Maxime Renault is definitely the you can find a way to shut him down. I predict us doubling the post again tomorrow night a little bit if it comes down to it. They played a bad game last night, and he still had 20 and 10. He's going to get his, but if you can just make it an inefficient night for him, you can pretty much limit the way that offense goes about operating. So you're 100% right there. I appreciate you so much for coming on. That is actually going to lead us into the wrap-up of this segment. We got to keep these under an hour and 20 because people just, the analytics suggest keeping them under an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. That way, people watch them all the way through. I don't mean to cut us off like that. Yes, the Lakers are on. That's going to be a background thing for me here.
Gentlemen on AMC.
But we're going to try to do some post-game stuff for pretty much each game of the ACC tournament, and NCAA tournament as much as we can within 12 to 24 hours of final whistle. And I'd love to get you on for that going into the future. We've had more live viewers tonight, steadily above the steady number that we've had. Our steady number record was 6 before, and tonight the steady number record has been 7. So we're moving up. It reached 8 sometimes. I think I saw Twitch had some viewers as well. So, you're bringing the viewers in, Will. You're officially a part of the Real Spiel team, reoccurring special guest if you want that title. And we appreciate you coming on. We love it. We love it so much.
Yeah, I'll have a better quality camera next time. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Trevor. It's great to finally meet you after hearing you on the radio for some years.
I do appreciate that. I really do. Does the face match the voice in any way?
I actually knew what you looked like beforehand.
I
listen to the show basically every day. I'm a ball knower, I guess you could say.
That's a stalker. All right.
Trev knows ball. Oh, Will. Sorry, Will knows ball. Right. Will knows ball. He knows about you, Trev. He knows about you, Trev. I tweaked there a bit.
Again, I apologize.
But Will, I appreciate you so much, sir. We're gonna get to the wrap up here. We'll get you on here next in the next whatever you're available. If it lines up, we're gonna try to get you on.
All right, sounds good, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Will Wigington, ladies and gentlemen.
Peace out, buddy.
All right, Trev. What'd you say?
Do you have a favorite football team?
Oh, I meant to ask him that. I'm pretty sure he's a pretty he's a Lamar lover. I think he's been he's a Ravens fan. I don't know if he has an NBA team. I want to say he's a Celtics fan, but I can't be sure on that. I'm not sure. I shouldn't be saying things I don't know. If you're still in, comment down below if you know the teams Will is a fan of. But Trevor, that is going to wrap up this. I thought what I think is a great Real Spill live show episode. Will was a great guest, great on his first time on. He knows what he's talking about. He knows his stuff. Definitely want to get him on again. Obviously, you know your stuff. You're the King Kelsey. And I appreciate you doing this with me tonight. Listeners, like, comment, subscribe down below. Hit our DM, hit our email, hit our TikTok, hit our Twitter, hit our Instagram. If you want to ever comment on the show, send in some questions, send in some whatever, just anything. Send it in. We'll accept it. We'll read it. We'll converse about it. We'll ask each other our opinions on it, and we'll discuss. But Trev,
for you, are you okay? You look like you were dying over there.
Oh, I took some water down the wrong pipe, and it just it wasn't right. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. If you want to sponsor the show, please let me know. You can sponsor the show. Wouldn't mind it at all. He's a Ravens fan and a Heat fan.
Okay.
Stay positive. We going into the Final Four. Salute later on. I'm staying positive. We do need to stay positive, Trevor. We do a good job of staying positive, though. I feel like compared to other people who
I wasn't trying to be negative when I was.
No, I know you weren't.
The season's upcoming, and listen, I want to live in the now. I mean, I don't need to be looking. Someone that lives my lifestyle knows not to look ahead too far ahead. You live in the now. And that being said, I don't think any Louisville fan is underappreciating this team at all. I just want to be made said that I think it's going to be looked back and the appreciation of how great this team defensively is in the Pat Kelsey era by comparison to future years is going to look back and go, man, how great was that? I mean, that was the best defensive team we've had in this era. And hopefully a good run will come along with it in the tournament that we can match in those memories.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's we've got to enjoy it. It feels this great for a reason, and we just got to enjoy how long it can last. So,
my last thing to say, props to the stripe out. I mean, obviously you saw a couple, spots here and there, but to have it looking that good, I was wrong. I'm a Cardinal Nation. I apologize. I didn't think you had it in you. I didn't think you'd pull it off. I really didn't. I just didn't think it was going to be possible, and they did, and they nailed it. And it was the most impressive thing in that game. No offense to the way we played against Pitt, but it kind of was. I mean, I was impressed. I loved it. I mean, I don't know what I want to do it again. I kind of want to never try it again because it's like when you leave in the gym and you want to leave on hitting the shot, we just nailed the three. Let's walk out. Let's George Costanza, Mike.
Yeah.
Walk out like John Cena in a heel turn. Let's get. It's no reason to do it again. Let's just leave it at that. Leave that memory there.
I'm right there with you. Trevor,
But we do it again, and it's going to be all fucked up by the time we do it. And it's
score prediction for Stanford before we get out of here.
I think Louisville wins by 12. I think it's sloppy. I think they do play a little down to some of its competition. And hey, my mom's name is Nancy Phil.
I think the Reno has a 20-10 performance, but he shoots under 50%, and we find a way to get the job done. I'm gonna say Louisville wins this game by, I want to say 14, but I'm gonna say 14. I'm gonna go Louisville wins this game by 14.
Leads the Cards in scoring, not necessarily at 30, but who's the card?
With the game like this, and they've got a couple bodies down low with no real perimeter defense, I'm going to say Terrence Edwards. Chucky Hepburn has a great game scoring as well, but I'm going to say Terrence Edwards is in that 21-22 range.
I'm going Hepburn then. I'll take Hepburn.
All right. I'm right there with you. He's going to have a big game. I think Terrence will have the more points.
Yeah, I get it.
All right, Trevor. Appreciate you so much. That's going to wrap us up. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm about to go watch Dune 2. Pray for me.
All right. I'm going to get some food, get some dinner, watch these Lakers a little bit on the phone. You're going to go watch Bob Dylan. We love that. Like, comment, and subscribe down below. We appreciate you guys so much for being in here and watching us, and especially for the viewers who seem to have stayed in even after Will leaving. I know some of you guys have got to be some Will Wigington listeners for sure still, but
sure. So for us, they only wanted to see
at Real Spiel Pod on Twitter. I don't have that Twitter on this graphic yet, just our Twitters, but it's the same thing as the Instagram and the TikTok there at Real Spiel Pod on Twitter. We'll have the link out to this if you guys want to share it and watch it again. Send it to some friends. That's going to wrap us up, though. Trevor, I appreciate you so much. We'll be back on here soon for our reactions to Louisville Stanford.
Talk NBA. I want to talk some NBA with you, man.
We'll talk NBA. We'll get into that. I just don't want to say anything rash about these Lakers while they're playing like this because I've been having some irrational feelings. So I want to watch us lose really badly first and be proved right that this defensive mindset right now is going to get you torched. It's working great right now, but it's going to get you torched. But we'll get into that. Trevor, I appreciate you.
In the finals already. Silver's going to have it done. The NBA needs LeBron in the finals. The ratings are in the garbage cans. He needs LA and Boston. He's going to get it done. Listen, as a Pacer fan, I've been there. I watched us get screwed over by the NBA putting the Knicks ahead of us. I watched them do it with the Lakers winning the championship. Blazers have been a product of it.
I don't know.
Adam Silver is going to do it.
Luka's a cone. Luka is a cone. I don't know. He can't defend, but he's got his offensive attack back. He's got his offensive prowess back. I'm hearing a crazy echo now for some reason. I don't know what that's about, but Trevor.
Saying Silver will make it happen.
I'm gonna get us
ratings.
I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. But that's gonna wrap us up, Trevor. I appreciate you. We'll be in here with our reactions to Louisville Stanford, and that's gonna be it. This has been the Real Spill Live Show.